Hello. In this review, I will tell you about the American Electronic Warfare System AN MLQ-34 TACJAM, also known simply as MLQ-34. TACJAM stands for Tactical Jammer. This is another product of the Cold War, the relevance of which faded after its end. It was quietly retired from service, as it was outperformed by Soviet and later Russian electronic warfare systems. I'll briefly tell you the history of this system, for which purposes it was created and what capabilities it has. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click like. Your support makes our content better. Let's burn. The MLQ-34 system can more accurately be classified as a tactical ground-based communication jamming station. By the time of its development, the US already had several other systems, less versatile. For instance, the AN GLQ-3 was in service, featuring a directional antenna and fully manual controls. This single-channel system could jam only one radio signal at a time, but its high output power allowed it to suppress signals over long distances. The Americans used this system in the 1970s in West Germany to intercept and jam radio signals from East Germany. However, the AN GLQ-3 had its shortcomings. The system was manually operated. However, in the US, they wanted to automate the processes to detect radio signals more quickly, identify their source, demodulate, and suppress them. They wanted a system that could operate across a wider frequency range and simultaneously suppress multiple radio signals. They intended to use the system in combat operations, and it was clear which country it was meant to target. The goal was to detect radio signals several kilometers away from the combat zone, locate the command center, suppress those signals, and ultimately strike the command centers. In the early 1970s, the US set out to develop a new ground-based electronic warfare system. At the same time, work was underway on airborne electronic warfare systems. In 1973, the US Department of Defense signed a contract with GTE Sylvania to develop the AN MLQ-34 TACJAM system. It took 3 years to design and produce the first prototype. The platform chosen for the system was the M1015 tracked transporter, a modified version of the M548 transporter specifically developed for electronic warfare systems. It was equipped with an additional generator and a grounding rod driver. All the equipment and the antenna were housed in the rear of the vehicle. In 1976, the first prototype underwent testing. While the system generally met its design specifications, it proved cumbersome, requiring from 1 to 2 hours to deploy, depending on crew training, a delay unacceptable for its intended role. As a result, the system was sent back for refinement. By 1977, an improved prototype was retested. Updates included new internal components, upgraded software to expand its operational frequency range, and a new antenna. These changes improved the system's mobility and reduced deployment time to just 2 minutes. Initial testing dragged on until 1979, after which the MLQ-34 was approved for production. An initial batch of 17 units was ordered, with the first delivered to a dedicated Army unit in 1981 for further trials. Following successful testing, additional units were manufactured, and by 1984, all 17 systems from the initial order were delivered. Throughout the 1980s, further production contracts were signed, bringing the total to 80 units by 1990. The system saw its first combat use in 1991 during Operation Desert Storm. While MLQ-34 demonstrated its effectiveness in jamming radio signals, its drawbacks also became apparent. Chief among them was its bulkiness. However, the collapse of the Soviet Union and advancements in Russian electronic warfare systems signaled the system's obsolescence. This was understood even before all 80 MLQ-34 systems were delivered. As a result, a competition was announced in 1987 to develop an improved version, which was designated TACJAM-A. 2 companies participated in the competition, AEL, Sanders Associates and Hughes Aircraft. In 1989, AEL, Sanders won the competition. However, the start of the project was delayed. It wasn't until 1992 that AEL, Sanders Associates signed an agreement with the US Department of Defense to develop TACJAM-A. They began design work, with expectations that mass production of the updated version would begin in 1995. However, the use of electronic warfare systems during Operation Desert Storm led to several adjustments. In 1993, the Department of Defense introduced a comprehensive plan for modernizing electronic warfare systems. Once again, Competition with Russia played a role, and under the new strategy, there was a need to develop a system that could operate across a wider frequency range, be more maneuverable, respond more effectively to threats, and, importantly, contribute to winning the information warfare front, which was also a U.S. priority. At AEL Sanders Associates, it was clear that the MLQ-34 TACJAM system lacked versatility and data processing speed. The software was already outdated, and cosmetic improvements would not significantly expand the frequency range. The antenna's directionality was subpar, and the demodulation methods lagged behind the times. The chassis required significant maintenance and additional personnel to operate. In short, AEL Sanders Associates had a lot of work ahead. Taking all requirements into account, they estimated that the project would be implemented between 1996 and 1999. During this period, it would be possible to develop an almost entirely new system with an open architecture and modular design. This would enable operation across a broader frequency range and adaptation to various challenges. Several prototypes were created in the late 1990s, but everyone understood that this system's time had passed. By the early 2000s, the MLQ-34 TACJAM was gradually phased out of service. It was time for newer systems, and this one found its place in museums. And that's the story. Now, let's talk about the capabilities it has. The MLQ-34 TACJAM system was mounted on an M1015 tracked vehicle, capable of moving at a maximum speed of 40 km per hour. It was operated by a two-person crew. The system included a 60-volt generator, a grounding rod driver, and an 11-meter collapsible mast with an antenna mounted on the roof. It was equipped with 3 transmitters, allowing it to jam up to 3 radio signals simultaneously. Overall, the system could suppress signals within the 20 MHz to 150 MHz frequency range. Inside, the system has a computer, communication equipment, several signal receivers, and specialized displays that visually represented received and transmitted signals along with their amplitude. Typically, the MLQ-34 TACJAM was deployed about 3 km from the front line and was capable of jamming signals up to 25 km away. The output power of the system was 3 kilowatts. The onboard equipment analyzed each incoming signal, determining its frequency range and characteristics. If the signal was voice-based, its content was analyzed by the operator, the signal source was identified, demodulation was performed in various modes, and then a decision was made, either by the operator or the system, to suppress the signal. The suppression could be performed either automatically or manually. The improved version expanded its frequency range from 20 MHz to 200 MHz and increased its jamming distance to 30 km. The output power was boosted to 4 kilowatts. Signal processing algorithms and jamming capabilities were enhanced, and the antenna design was significantly improved. Additionally, the data transmission channel was upgraded, and protection against chemical and biological threats was added. Despite its advantages, by the early 2000s, the system was considered hopelessly outdated. Preference shifted to more mobile systems with broader capabilities. And that was the MLQ-34 TACJAM electronic warfare system. I'm confident this overview was both interesting and informative for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click like. That's all for now. Wishing you clear skies and peace. Take care.